Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. NAC appeals to Labour to suspend planned strike, urges patience. Tribunal sacks Governor Obasani, declares election inconclusive. Plus, Germany, Israel sign historic missile shield deal. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First in the news tonight, the National Economic Council (NEC), presided over by Vice President Kashim Shettima, has appealed to the organized labor to put on hold the proposed indefinite nationwide strike from Tuesday, October 3, 2023. Briefing State House correspondents at the end of the NEC meeting at the Council Chambers Presidential Villa, Abuja, Governor of Plateau State Caleb Mutfwang said Council asked labor leaders to resume negotiations at the state's level. Recall that the two labor centers, the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) and the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria (TUC), had on Tuesday directed their affiliate unions to commence the nationwide industrial action from October 3, saying it would be a total shutdown of the system until government takes steps to attend to their demands. The organized labor accused the federal government of refusing to meaningfully engage and reach agreements with organized labor on critical issues of consequences of the unfortunate hike in price of petrol occasioned by subsidy removal, which has unleashed massive suffering on Nigerian workers and the masses. The directive to embark on the indefinite strike was arrived at by the various NEC of the two labor centers after the expiration of a two-day warning strike on September 5 and 6, and that of the 21-day ultimatum that ended last weekend without government attending to the workers' demands on provision of palliatives to cushion the effects of the hardship. However, briefing journalists on resolution of NEC on the impending indefinite strike, Mutfwang said Council was of the opinion that continuing on the path of dialogue would be the best option for the economy, especially at the state level. Meanwhile, Vice President Kashim Shettima has assured Nigerians that their sacrifices will not be in vain, saying the promises made by the Tinubu administration will be fulfilled. According to a statement by a media aide to the Vice President Stanley Nkwocha, Shettima made the remarks today at the public lecture to commemorate Nigeria's 63rd independence anniversary at the State House Banquet Hall, Abuja. He said President Bola Tinubu's administration is committed to building a country where the economic independence of each citizen is guaranteed and where none of them has to depend on unspecified handouts to earn a living. The Vice President noted that the future of a great nation is not determined by the occurrence of a socio-economic challenge, but by the intention, sincerity, and innovative ideas of its leaders and their commitment to implementing them.
And the moral character of our leaders. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I love Nigeria. I believe in the Nigeria project. Not because of my vested interests. I am 57 years old. As per the UNDP, the average age of a Borno man is 47. So I'm well past my prime. Certainly not because of my family. I have only a wife and 3 kids. I believe in Nigeria because if Nigeria works, the black man works. The last election was probably one of the most divisive elections in the contemporary annals of Nigerian history. ethno-religious, and regional fault lines were deliberately manipulated for political ends. But it is pertinent to mention, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, that the most northern of northern states is Sokoto. The Nigerian candidate lost by a few thousand votes to the regional candidate in Sokoto.
Away from that, in commemoration of Nigeria's 63rd Independence Day anniversary, the federal government has declared Monday, October 2, 2023 as public holiday. According to a statement by the ministry's permanent secretary, Dr. Oluwatoyin Akinlade, the Minister of Interior, Dr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, made the declaration in Abuja on behalf of the federal government today. The minister assured Nigerians of the President Bola Tinubu-led administration's continued commitment to tackling challenges facing the country. Tunji-Ojo said the greatness ahead of the country was achievable if all citizens worked together in unity. In the meantime, the federal government has said the report that President Bola Tinubu would announce a new wage award to workers on Independence Day is untrue. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Simon Lalong, made the clarifications in a statement by the Director of Press and Public Relations in the Ministry of Labour, Olajide Oshundun. He noted that the report is false and misleading, as at no time did the Director of Information make such disclosure. Lalong further called on members of the public to ignore the report, stressing that it was a total fabrication by the reporter. Meanwhile, the Attorney General of the Federation, AGF, and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, has asked the organized labor to respect the June 5 order issued by the National Industrial Court, restraining both Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and Trade Union Congress, TUC, from embarking on any industrial action over fuel subsidy removal and related issues. In a letter to the NLC and TUC, Femi Fagbemi said that the plan by both labor bodies to embark on indefinite strike from October 3 was a violation of the subsisting order and a different disregard to the dignity and integrity of the court. The AGF urged Falana to prevail on his clients to respect the order of the court and allow room for ongoing negotiations between parties on how to address the challenges associated with the fuel subsidy removal. He noted that from the communique issued by the NLC after its National Executive Council meeting on August 31 and September 26 joint communique by the presidents of the NLC and TUC, it was obvious that the proposed strike action is premised principally in furtherance of issues connected with the removal of fuel subsidy, hike in fuel price, and consequential matters of making provisions for palliatives and workers' welfare. In a related development, the National Deputy President of the Trade Union Congress, Tommy Etim, said nothing would stop the strike, noting that Nigerian workers were disenchanted with the federal government. He stated that the unions had given the government sufficient time to address their demands, stressing that the workers would not allow themselves to be deceived any longer. Etim told newsmen that any fresh meeting with the federal government was pointless and asked the Nigerians to brace for the long-drawn walkout.
Deliberated on the continued refusal of the federal government to engage in a meaningful and constructive dialogue within the ambit of good faith, given the 21 days ultimatum and the subsequent successful 2 days nationwide strike of the 5th and 6th of September and other meetings that were supposed to demonstrate the preparedness of the Nigerian workers to push through their decision to embark on an indefinite nationwide strike if their demands were not met.
Consequently, the NLC and TUC NEC section resolved as follows. 1. To, in the spirit of the Independence Day celebration, and to demonstrate our resolve for a truly independent Nigeria, to take our destinies in our own hands and rescue our nation. 2. To embark on an indefinite and total shutdown of the nation beginning on 0 hours, Tuesday, the 3rd day of October 2023. 3. To direct all workers in Nigeria to withdraw their services from their respective workplaces commencing from the 3rd of October 2023. 4. To direct all affiliates and state councils to immediately start mobilizing accordingly for action to organize street protests and rally until government responds positively to our demands. 5. To enjoin all patriotic Nigerians to join hands across the nation to assist this government put the people back at the center of its policies and programs.
Now from the Green Chambers, where the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has stressed the need for employers to strengthen the capacity of their employees through training and retraining, which is a motivation for productivity that would enhance output in the working environment. Speaker Abbas made this known in Abuja today at the opening ceremony of a capacity building program organized by the Office of the Speaker in collaboration with a non-governmental organization, Policy and Legal Advocacy Center plaque for senior legislative aides in the Speaker's office, represented by the Clerk of the House, Dr. Yahaya Danzaria. The Speaker said the training was important for members of staff in his office, noting that it was the first of such program in the 10th House under his leadership as Speaker. In the meantime, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has advised the federal government to mitigate the current economic situation in the country by increasing workers' salaries. The Speaker made the call today at the public lecture to commemorate Nigeria's 63rd independence anniversary at the State House Banquet Hall, Abuja. He also advised the federal government to build on the existing synergy among the different arms of government to provide democratic dividends to Nigerians. Delivering a lecture on the Tinubu administration's renewed hope agenda with the theme, actualizing the vision of renewed hope for socio-economic development through effective leadership, a guest speaker, Dr. Goke Adegoroye, praised President Bola Tinubu for the steps taken so far in repositioning governance and resetting the economy. He, however, urged the administration to prioritize key aspects of the renewed hope agenda with a view to ensuring that the impact is felt across different sectors of the economy. In the meantime, the House of Representatives ad hoc committee investigating the slow pace of the 45-kilometer Ijebu-Ibo-Ita-Ibadan road in Oyo State has summoned officials of the Federal Ministry of Works to appear before it. The officials, the House said, are to speak on the controversies surrounding the re-award of the road project to another contractor without terminating the earlier one awarded to the first contractor. The chairman of the committee, Kwamoti Lauri, said in Abuja at the resumed hearing of the investigation after its oversight visit to the site on September 21 in Oyo and parts of Ogun State. Lauri said the probe panel would not hesitate to summon the Minister of Works if the officials fail to give the necessary explanation regarding the controversies over the re-award of the said project. Now in education, the National Universities Commission (NUC) has approved the revalidation of the recognition of Niger State University of Education (Mina) to a University of Education. Acting Executive Secretary of NUC, Chris Mayaki, made this known during a visit of Niger State Governor Mohammed Umar Bago to the headquarters of the Commission today in Abuja. Mayaki, who read a letter conveying the approval, said the institution initially secured conditional recognition as University of Education in 2013, but that some of the conditions were never met by the successive administrations in Niger State until Bago came on board. He said, with the new development, Niger State University of Education is now fully recognized as the 63rd state-owned university in Nigeria. The acting NUC boss said the new university was approved following the presentation of relevant documents, including the Gazetted Universities Law, academic brief, and master plan. Away from that, the Nigerian Veterinary Medical Association has urged pet owners to keep their pets within their premises and ensure they are fully vaccinated against rabies. The national president of the association, Dr. Oluwatoyin Adetuberu, made the call in an interview with newsmen in Abuja in commemoration of the World Rabies Day. Adetuberu therefore identified being a responsible dog or pet owner as a way forward towards reducing the burden of rabies in the country. The veterinarian, who described the challenges posed by rabies in the country as enormous and devastating, explained that anybody bitten by a rabid dog may not be productive, noting that there is no cure for rabies and the only way is to prevent it. World Rabies Day is commemorated annually on September 28 to raise awareness about rabies prevention and to highlight progress made towards defeating the disease. On judicial matters now, the Governorship Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Kaduna has declared the 2023 governorship election in Kaduna State inconclusive. According to reports, the tribunal, during its resumed proceeding today in a split decision of a ratio of 2-1, declared the election inconclusive and directed that a supplementary election be held by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) within 90 days. The three-man panel led by Justice Victor Oviawe therefore ordered a rerun of election in 24 polling units in 7 wards of 4 local governments consisting of 16,300 registered voters. The verdict was announced via Zoom after the judges shunned the physical hall. Recall that the petition was filed by the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and its candidate Isa Muhammad Ashiru. PDP's Ashiru is challenging the election of Uba Sani as the governor of Kaduna State on the grounds of alleged irregularities and electoral fraud, saying that its candidate Isa Muhammad Ashiru won the election.
Of the Constitution, they are required to also consider the petition on merit. So on merit, 2 of them said that election is supposed to be conducted in 22 polling units because the number of the voters there exceed the margin of lead. But they have said that the PDP wanted it to be declared as the winner of the election. The tribunal said that they have no proof that. They allege that there are corrupt practices perpetrated by APC. They said they have no proof that. So in essence, as of today, the PDP petition is dismissed by the tribunal. Unless PDP appeal to the Court of Appeal, then we now know what will happen there. But the petition has been dismissed.
Yeah, the court has delivered judgment directing that the election in Kaduna State is inconclusive. And there should be rerunning elections in about 4 local governments, somewhat in 4 local governments.
So how many polling units and how many registered voters are we looking at?
Well, that we'll have to look at the details. Well, it's in 4 local governments, about 14 wards or so.
So why did the tribunal decided on this inconclusive election?
Why the tribunal decided what it decided? It's based on the facts placed before it. Court arrived at a decision based on the submissions and argument of lawyers, and the majority of the tribunal judges decided that the election was inconclusive, and 1 judge affirmed the election. So, and the majority decision of the court is that the election was inconclusive.
Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has fixed October 3 for judgment in a suit filed by Senator Smart Adeyemi challenging the conduct of the primary election of the All Progressives Congress APC for Kogi State governorship election. Senator Adeyemi is challenging the validity of the election which produced Usman Ododo as APC's flag bearer for the November 11 governorship election. Adeyemi, who recently represented Kogi West senatorial districts in the Senate, claimed that the result brought out by APC in support of Ododo was fraudulent and invalid on the grounds that the primary election was conducted in only 11 out of 239 wards in the state. In a separate development, the Department of State Services DSS has announced the establishment of a new Directorate of Public Relations and Strategic Communications DPRSC. According to a statement by the DSS DPRSC, The new department, established by the Director General Yusuf Bichi, will be headed by the former Public Relations Officer of the DSS, Peter Fanaya. It added that the establishment of the Directorate is part of efforts in sustaining its engagement with citizens and the public at large, as well as deepening democratic governance, transparency, and accountability. Moving away from that, Governor Godwin Obaseki of Edo State has accepted the public apology made by his deputy comrade Philip Shaibu, noting that as a person of faith, he was on the obligation to accept the apology. In a letter titled Public Apology by the Edo State Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu, the governor said, in good faith, he trusts that the public apology as expressed by Shaibu is genuine and followed by contrite steps to improve his conflict resolution skills. Still to come in the news. Crude oil price hits $97 after U.S. storage hub records decline. Please stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
And thanks for staying tuned. We're moving on to Africa, where Rwandan President Paul Kagame has appointed a senior military official as the Minister of State for Regional Cooperation, despite the fact that he has been accused of working closely with a Congolese rebel group. General James Kabarebe, who has for decades been a close ally of Kagame, retired from the military last month. UN experts published a report in June accusing General Kabarebe of playing a leading role in coordinating operations by the M23 rebel group in eastern DR Congo. Rwanda has denied that its military has supported the M23. The reports say since the group relaunched a rebellion almost 2 years ago, hundreds of thousands of civilians have been forced from their homes. Meanwhile, DR Congo accuses Rwanda of backing the M23, an allegation denied in Kigali. In the meantime, the United States has announced it will impose visa restrictions on anyone who undermines elections in Liberia next month. It said the move targeted those undermining democracy in Liberia, including through manipulation or rigging of the electoral process, use of violence, or engagement in any other activity designed to improperly influence the outcome of an election. The State Department said the policy reflected a commitment to supporting Liberians in their desire to have a free and fair vote. It did not name any specific individuals. The President George Weah is seeking a second term in office. He will face opposition leader Joseph Boakai, who was the defeated candidate in the last election 5 years ago. In the meantime, military leaders in Gabon have relaxed the curfew imposed on the country following the overthrow of President Ali Bongo. The new curfew announced by the Committee for the Transition and Restoration of Institutions, CTRI, on Wednesday runs from midnight through 5. Previously, it started between 6 and 10, depending on the area. The new curfew, according to the junta, forms part of efforts to restore economic operations in the country. Still in Africa, the authorities in Burkina Faso say 4 army officers have been detained for questioning a day after the military government announced it had thwarted a coup attempt. The military prosecutor's office also said 2 officers were on the run. It is almost a year since Captain Ibrahim Traoré seized power, the second coup in the country in 8 months, but there have been signs of tension within the military. The military prosecutor says an investigation has begun and has appealed for witnesses following what he called attempts at destabilizing the country. In Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, military men used a deteriorating security situation as justification for seizing power. Meanwhile, thousands of UN troops and French soldiers are leaving the region after being ordered out. Elsewhere, an Islamist militant group linked to Al-Qaeda has said it has taken control of an army base in Mali's ancient city of Timbuktu. Earlier, the Malian armed forces said they had fought off what they called a terrorist attack. A statement from the military said its troops had repelled the assailants at Acharane and soldiers were being evacuated from the base. Meanwhile, Islamist militants from the group Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin had carried out several recent deadly attacks in the Timbuktu region. Conflict with Tuareg rebels has also resumed after the collapse of a 2015 peace deal. The violence coincides with the withdrawal of the thousands of UN peacekeepers as demanded by Mali's military rulers. Meanwhile, the female employee of Cairo University has been shot dead by a former co-worker in what Egyptian media are calling the latest gender-based killing. Nohan Hossein is reported to have rejected a marriage proposal from the subject. The man was later tracked down to an area west of the capital where he is said to have killed himself with the same weapon used in the murder. In a separate incident in Cairo earlier this week, another woman was killed 1,000 cases of violence against women in Egypt last year, including 300 murders. In the meantime, South African anti-apartheid struggle veteran Aziz passed at the age of 82. According to a statement, he passed away at his home in Johannesburg on Wednesday evening. The family described him as a patriot and freedom fighter who dedicated his life to the governing ANC party and serving South Africans. Reports say Pahad joined the struggle against apartheid rule from a very young age. In 1964, he went into exile in the UK, where he went on to coordinate the international call to free imprisoned ANC leader Nelson Mandela. Pahad returned to South Africa in 1990 after the white minority government led by F.W. de Klerk freed Mandela. After the democratic election in 1994, Pahad served as Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister for 14 years, first under Mandela and then under President Thabo Mbeki. In 2014, former President Jacob Zuma appointed him as his envoy on the crisis in the Middle East. Meanwhile, Pahad documented his political life in his memoir, Insurgent Diplomat. Still in Africa, Mozambique's health authorities have expressed concern that some 37% of children in the country are suffering from chronic malnutrition. This troubling rise is compounded by a lack of access to health care and limited educational opportunities, posing serious challenges to the overall development of Mozambique's youth. In response, civil society groups are calling for the implementation of a national early childhood policy. Advocates argue that such a policy could help address the developmental obstacles faced. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health, Gender, Children and Social Action and partners met in the capital Maputo today to seek answers to early childhood development problems, which is the period from birth until 8 years of age. Elsewhere, a new report has recorded more than 300 human rights abuses against the LGBTQ community by state and non-state actors following the enactment of the anti-homosexuality law in Uganda. The report was released by a group of rights agencies under the Convening for Equality. According to the groups, between January and August 2023, real and perceived LGBTIQ+ persons were tortured, beaten, arrested, ousted, and suffered physical, sexual, and psychological violence, including forced annual exams, evictions and blackmail, loss of employment, and health service disruptions. These accounted for a total of 306 human rights violations and abuses based on sexual orientation and gender identity. Meanwhile, there were 179 incidents of torture, cruel and inhumane treatment that included 18 forced anal examinations ordered by police and documented. In the meantime, a Ghanaian doctor who is among this year's winners of the Right Livelihood Award, widely known as the Alternative Nobel Prize, says she hopes it will bring the world's attention to the issue of unsafe abortions, especially in Africa. Dr. Eunice Brookman Amesa has been recognized for pioneering discussions on women's reproductive rights in Africa and paving the way for liberalized abortion laws and improved safe abortion access. She told Newsman it was a great honor to be recognized and to receive the award, and hoped it would further strengthen their hand to safeguard the rights of women who are dying every day from unsafe abortions. Still in Africa, South Sudan's President Salva Kiir is reportedly in Moscow for talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Kiir's office in a statement said the meeting with the Russian president will discuss prospects for the development of bilateral relations in various areas as well as regional and international issues. He noted that the visit aims at deepening diplomatic relations and exploring other areas of cooperation on trade, investment opportunities, and security. The statement added that the two leaders will also discuss the lifting of an arms embargo and targeted sanctions imposed on individuals in South Sudan. On the foreign scene now, Germany has signed a deal to acquire the Israeli-made Arrow-3 hypersonic missile system, but will become a key part of Europe's defense against air attack. The signing of the deal was a historic day for both countries, German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius said at a press conference alongside his Israeli counterpart Yoav Gallant. Worth around $3.5 billion, the sale is the biggest ever deal for Israel's military industry. Meanwhile, Germany has led a push to bolster NATO's air defenses in Europe after the Russian invasion of Ukraine last year, urging allies to buy deterrent systems together. Still on the foreign scene, Taiwan has unveiled its first domestically made submarine as it bolsters its defenses against a possible Chinese attack. President Tsai Ing-wen presided over the launch ceremony in the port city of Kaohsiung. She added that the idea of a domestically made submarine had previously been considered an impossible task, but the country did it. According to military officials, the $1.54 billion diesel-electric powered submarine will undergo several tests and will be delivered to the Navy by the end of 2024. Reports say Taiwan is a self-governing island which China regards as a renegade province and has vowed to reclaim. Meanwhile, a 14-year-old boy described by fellow pupils as hot-headed today reportedly stabbed 3 teachers and 2 students in a school in southern Spain before being overpowered. Police spokesman Adrian Dominguez told reporters at the scene that the boy, who has not been named, allegedly stabbed the 5 victims repeatedly shortly after classes started at the school in Jerez de la Frontera. The spokesman was unable to comment on the extent of the injuries, but Spanish media said one teacher was in serious condition after being stabbed in the eye, while the rest suffered light injuries. The attack caused alarm in Spain, where violent crime is fairly rare. According to reports, parents rushed to the school after hearing about the stabbing, gathering outside the gates, which were cordoned off by police. Meanwhile, several students told Spanish media that the boy often got into fights and was quick-tempered. Still on the foreign scene, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has said that Kiev's troops are gradually gaining ground in their sweeping counter-offensive against tight Russian defense lines in southeastern Ukraine. Stoltenberg made this known during an unannounced visit to Kiev. The NATO secretary noted that Ukrainians are fighting for their families' future and freedom, saying Moscow is fighting for imperial delusions. He disclosed that Ukraine has strong backing from 31 NATO allies and many partners, adding that more than 50 nations support and supply aid to the country, and over 140 nations stood up for her sovereignty at the United Nations. And now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. Here is Davina Praise Oman.
Thank you, Xavier Roberts. Good evening. It is business news, and my name is Davina Praise Omang. In the news, Nigeria's price benchmark Brent crude oil price rallied to $97.5 per barrel today, as the crude storage hub in Cushing, Oklahoma, United States, fell by 943,000 barrels to 22 million barrels within 1 week. According to the managing director of TD Securities, Bart Mellick, the hike in Brent oil price was driven by the decline in crude stocks in Cushing. The price of crude oil started the week at $93 per barrel, but skyrocketed by 4.83% in the last 4 days. Although the price has dropped slightly to $96.18 per barrel, according to Malik, the price of crude oil will remain high till the end of the year as it receives support from Saudi Arabia and Russia's production cuts. In forex harmonization, Nigerian commercial banks recorded significant foreign exchange revaluation profits estimated at 1.7 trillion naira in the first half of 2023. According to the data collated from the 2023 half-year financial statements released by the banks, the 1.7 trillion naira gain significantly increased compared to a combined gain of 66.559 billion naira in the first half of 2022. Access Holdings, First Bank of Nigeria Holdings, FCMB, Fidelity Bank, Guarantee Trust Holdings, Stanbic IBTC, Sterling Bank, UBA, Unity Bank, Wema Bank, and Zenith Bank are lenders. Meanwhile, Ecobank is not included due to its Pan-African status. Union Bank has yet to release its half-year results. The other banks reported significant FX revaluation gains except for Unity Bank, which incurred an FX revaluation loss of about 35.42 billion naira. Nigeria Customs remitted 343 billion naira in 2 months. Nigeria Customs Service says it remitted 343 billion naira in revenue to the Federation's account in July and August 2023. According to the Acting Comptroller General of Customs, Bashir Adeniyi, while speaking with journalists regarding his achievements in the first 100 days in office on Thursday, the agency generated an average revenue of 202 billion naira in the first half of 2023. He noted that Nigeria Customs exceeded the monthly target collection of 307 billion naira in the period under review. The service had announced a 3.6 trillion naira revenue target for the year 2023. Over now to the Nigerian stock market report. The stock market data returns after the holiday. At the end of today's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, a total of 273.79 million shares and 6,826 deals, corresponding to a market value of 3.41 billion naira were traded. The benchmark all-share index shed 203.54 basis points to close at 66,448.63 points. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 36.4 trillion naira. In the aggregate, 117 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 16 gainers and 26 losers. RT Briscoe led the gainers with 9.76% share price appreciation, closing at 45 kobo per share. On the losing side, Vitafoam Nigeria came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 9.92% at 22 naira 25 kobo per share. Access Holdings recorded the highest volume of 45.9 million traded shares. This is all we could take on business news, and back to Xavier Roberts for the rest of the news.
Thanks, Davina. Still to come in the news. Bayern captain Never returns to training 10 months after breaking leg. Stay with us. Thanks for staying tuned. We're moving now to health, where the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has deployed 9.3 million doses of diphtheria vaccines to affected states in Nigeria, following the most severe diphtheria outbreak in recent global history. A statement by UNICEF Communication Assistant Nchekwube Nwosu Iwo said the doses were deployed to Kano, Bauchi, Borno, Yobe, Katsina, Kaduna, and Jigawa states. The statement noted that 4 million doses were dispatched to Kano, the epicenter of the outbreak. According to the statement, another 4 million doses were being procured and will be handed over to the government in the coming weeks. The outbreak has reportedly resulted in over 11,500 suspected cases, claiming 453 lives, with more than 7,000 confirmed cases, mostly children. Still in health, public health physicians in Lagos State have said that for Nigeria to achieve universal health coverage (UHC) and sustainable development goals by the year 2030, the country must strengthen and reposition the primary healthcare system. According to them, strengthening the primary healthcare system through adequate financing and finance management is essential in addressing the challenges militating against the achievement of UHC, as well as brain drain. The physicians noted that UHC is about ensuring that everyone, everywhere, the rich and poor, the young and old, regardless of race or education, equally access quality and essential health services, free of financial hardship, both in crisis and calm. The medical experts who spoke at the 2023 conference of the Association of Medical Officers of Health of Nigeria, Lagos State chapter, said the required investments must be made, particularly in strengthening subnational governance and ownership through the full implementation of primary health care under one roof. Now in sports, Bayern Munich captain Manuel Neuer returned to team training today, 10 months after breaking his leg in a skiing accident. Manuel took part in a goalkeeping drill with Sven Ulrich and Daniel Perez, Bayern's two other goalkeepers, as well as the team's outfield players. Manuel, who won the 2013 and 2020 Champions League titles with Bayern, broke his leg in December. His return had been delayed by complications with his recovery. Bayern did not indicate when Manuel will be available for selection, but sporting director Christopher Frank said on Tuesday it was only a matter of days. Meanwhile, the 2014 World Cup winner, who was Germany's captain until his injury, is hoping to feature at the Euros next year, which will take place on German soil. Still in sports, Manchester City are the second most supported European club among followers in the United States. Data has Pep Guardiola and treble-winning Manchester City ranked above European giants such as Barcelona, Liverpool and Real Madrid. That is according to data thrown out by a survey carried out by Statista Consumer Insights and relayed by Casinos and Lynn via social media. The study looked at football fans stateside and based results on a percentage. Pep Guardiola and his treble winners are thought to be the joint second most followed European club ever in the United States right now, with an 8% share. Meanwhile, Chelsea, the other team, in second place. In the meantime, police today raided Spain's football refereeing headquarters as part of a probe into claims FC Barcelona paid for favorable decisions in a fresh blow for Spain's scandal-hit football association. The search was ordered by the judge investigating the so-called Negreira case involving payments allegedly made to a firm owned by a former top refereeing official, Jose Maria Enriquez Negreira. Reports say police began the search early today at the offices of the CTA Referees Technical Committee located at the RFEF Football Federation headquarters on the outskirts of Madrid. Meanwhile, a Barcelona court ordered the search as part of the investigation into the suspect payments made by the Catalan club to Negreira. And on entertainment news, rapper Aziz Adesina Fashola, popularly known as Naira Marley, has said his former signee Ilerioluwa Oladimeji Aloba, also known as Mohbad, may have surrounded himself with a lot of cultists given the sudden nature of his death. He said he believed that the late singer had been bullied, but his bullies were not sponsored by him or his record label Malian Music. Speaking in an interview with Renaud Mokri, Naira Marley said he is not a cultist, stressing that he has been battling with cultists since relocating to Nigeria from England in 2019. While alleging that those accusing him of having a hand in Mohbad's death may be trying to cover up the true cause of his death, the Malian music boss said he hopes the police conduct a thorough investigation to uncover the truth. In the meantime, a year after announcing their separation, famous Nigerian actress Funke Akindele and her estranged husband JJC Skills have reunited at a movie premiere in Lagos State. Reports say the couple got married in London in 2016 and welcomed a set of twins in 2018. In June 2022, JJC Skills announced his separation from the actress on his Instagram page, citing irreconcilable differences. Despite the significant social media attention their separation received, the details remained private. However, in a now trending video on the internet, the pair were captured at the IMAX Theatre, Lekki, dancing and hugging during the premiere of Funke Akindele's new movie, She Must Be Obeyed, which was also directed by the estranged husband. The event was also filmed. Sir Michael also appeared in Fantastic Mr. Fox, played French detective Margaret, and starred in The Singing Detective. His widow and son said their beloved husband and father died peacefully with his family by his side after suffering from pneumonia. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You've been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert. Wishing you a terrific night rest. Bye for now.